now Congresswoman Beatty, Democrat from Ohio and chair of the Congressional Black Caucus. Congresswoman, thank you so much for joining me. So if we look at the facts here,
thank you for having me.
I'm glad you're here. We have 16-year-old Makiah Bryant, shot and killed in your district in Columbus, Ohio. I'm curious, ma'am, your reaction to the shooting and what you've been hearing from your constituents in the community.
Well, we're hearing what you've been seeing all across the nation on TV. Enough is enough. People are devastated. This is a teenager. We have to have a better way of de-escalating. Here is an occurrence where the police knew they were coming with two girls fighting, or a girl and two adults fighting. So I think we have to look at the system. One size can't fit all. You can't say that you are trained to only shoot to the center of the body. 4 shots. I mean, come on, the first shot would knock the knife, a kitchen knife, to the ground. And when you look at what's happening here in Franklin County, I'm embarrassed by it. When you look at the number of percentages of fatal shootings at the hand of law enforcement, when you look at, we're rated 18 out of 100 of the largest, most populous cities in the nation. We need to take a longer look, a better look rather, at our system. Training. How are we training police officers? I find it unacceptable that one way of training, one system, one size cannot fit all. You cannot put 4 bullets into a 16-year-old's chest. You can't put 6 bullets into a person's back. Now, you know, we're going from a kitchen knife, a sandwich, a cell phone, car keys. We have to call for more transparency, more training, and more justice.
You know, it's interesting because you're echoing the sentiments of David Henderson, the attorney with whom I spoke just a couple minutes ago, and he was talking about how police are really good at shooting people. And I've heard it suggested, look, you don't want to shoot anybody anytime, but that said, why not shoot if you have to? Shoot in a leg. Shoot in an arm. What is it about this targeting for killing? I mean, how can that be addressed? Should that be addressed?
Well, I think it definitely should be addressed, and that's my point of one size fitting all. So if you have a 6-year-old with a knife in her hand looking like she's going to attack her sister, what? You shoot her 4 times in the chest? I think it's ridiculous. You could shoot in the air. If you look at that video with Makiah Bryant, the first shot, the knife is on the ground, people are scattering. It did not make sense. Teachers go and break up fights with knives every day. So there has to be a better way in this situation. I mean, the family is devastated. You know, the mother cannot even realize yet that her 16-year-old daughter is dead.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that's exactly what I thought when I listened to her. I thought, she is in shock. Absolutely.
Oh, yes. I had a conversation with her the day after the killing. And think about it. At the same time we're getting the verdict on the George Floyd case, we're finding out in my home district in Ohio yet another killing at the hands of law enforcement. It's just not acceptable.
No. NBC News is reporting that some people in your district are calling for a federal probe into the Columbus Police Department, something similar to what the DOJ announced this week in Minneapolis. They're noting, and here it is, since 2015, there have also been more than 30 people fatally shot by law enforcement in Columbus, with more than 20 of them black in 5 of the cases involving the Columbus Division of Police. Those killed were younger than 18. Do you think there should be a federal probe? I mean, that and what else?
I am open not only for that, but anything that will bring about change, because you just presented those statistics. When you look at, we only make up 20% of the Black American population, and yet we're dying at a rate of 1/3 or 33%. It is the highest, greater of that in Cleveland, Ohio, which has a greater Black population. When you look at many of the studies that have come out, they've also made a connection to racial demographics. So I think we have to look at it. I ask myself the question, would this be the same if it were in a suburban white community with white children fighting with a kitchen knife? And it gives me pause to believe when you look at the statistics, when you look at what we're facing, we know there's systemic racism. We know there's conscious bias. I was pepper sprayed, you know, at a peaceful protest. We see it far too often that it is the person who's being killed that's on trial. It is that person, it is that Black American, and we have to. I'm so proud of those protesters who are out there speaking truth to power, writing to us, so I stand with them.
There has been some growing optimism surrounding potential bipartisan police reform legislation on Capitol Hill. I'm curious what the latest is on that, how those talks are going, and how confident you are that a deal could be made and, in fact, a piece of legislation passed.
Oh, I am very positive. I think it helped us volumes when we received the verdict of guilty, guilty, and guilty on all 3 charges. When we had police officers coming in and testifying for the prosecution, saying that it was the chokehold that for 9 minutes and 29 seconds that caused George Floyd's death. So I think when you look at the things were in there, it's been clear. If we would have had already those things in the George Floyd piece of legislation, banding the chokehold, the no-knock warrants, letting a registry or a checkered pass travel with you, it will at least help us move the needle to reduce some of these shootings. So I believe it's going to have a lot of debate and dialogue in the Senate. I'm very pleased that the Congressional Black Caucus has been out in the forefront. Congresswoman Karen Bass has been leading the charge, meeting tirelessly with members of the Senate to help push this forward. The President of the United States has been briefed on it. The Congressional Black Caucus talked with him on it. So I am very hopeful that the nation is on our side to make this happen.
You know, before I let you go, ma'am, talking about the president, we're approaching his 100th day in office. Wednesday, he addresses a joint session of Congress. What do you hope to hear from the president, and how do you assess his first 100 days?
Well, let me just say part of the checklist for the Congressional Black Caucus was to be able to have an opportunity to sit down with the president. We were able to do that. We talked to him with our priorities, which match up with many of his priorities. You have to look at COVID-19. I think he's done an amazing job. You have to look at what he inherited, whether it was the economy, whether it was the lack of attention to COVID-19, whether it was the injustices. We're in a unique time now, and I think he's been dealing with it face on, and I'm very pleased of what he's done in the first 100 days. I think his message will be strong. I think it's going to mirror what he said on the campaign. I think he's going to tout what he's done, and rightly so, in the first 100 days. I think he's going to be welcoming and challenging all in the same breath about how he's going to be bold and build back better.
Well, we're all going to be watching to hear what he says. Congresswoman Joyce Beatty, thank you so much for your time on the broadcast. I'm glad to see you. Thank you. President